It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague in the danger zone in Rainford is Mr. Neil. Don't know how we Neil.
Hello.
Last week, Wildcard Weekend, 6 games, 1.5 good ones, maybe, but lots of stuff to talk about, and then also a preview of what is the best weekend in football, which is Divisional round weekend. What do you think, Neil?
Yes, I agree. I say some of these games would be, obviously it can't be because they're in the same conference, but if these were like a Super Bowl, I think a couple of them, well, let's be honest, 3 out of 4 of them would be awesome Super Bowls. Yeah,
so that is good. So what we will do first is we will go back to the wildcard games, discuss the losers and what is next for all 6 of those teams, and then, like we did last week, preview the games, give you our thoughts, kind of using over-under and spread betting to understand how we think the games will go, who can win, who can not. Well, what I will say is Neil last week was spectacular. We'll come on to that. But yeah, follow Neil for advice on what to do and who you think can win to impress your mates.
Yeah, not fantasy stuff. I should have been running about betting all this time.
Who knew?
Clearly.
Anyway, let's plug into the mains and let's look at the wild card losers. So Neil, thought what we do is look at the wild card losers and what is next for those teams, all 6 of them. Kind of a question for each one. So let's do in chronological order, and we'll start with the Las Vegas Raiders. Tough loss against the Bengals. We're in it right till the end. I'm not sure if that was due to them, the referees, or the Bengals. But I guess now they fired Mike Mayock and they are probably looking for a new coach. Is there a situation where the Raiders could actually be in full blow-up mode?
Certainly seems that way. Obviously, it's open to debate how much influence Mayock actually had, considering I'm fairly certain John Gruden probably controlled most of the personnel decisions. Maybe the late rounds when Gruden was probably a bit bored, he let Mayock swing for the fences on a few of them. It's tough because I think a lot of people have an awful lot of good things to say about Rich Pistachio. I know that Derek Carr is a big fan of him, and that Carr, I'm not saying he's openly championing for him to remain, but I think Carr would be happy if he did. The GM search is interesting because if they bring in a GM, they need to do that quickly, unless they've already decided that the GM is going to be tied to Pistachio, which is never an ideal situation. Ideally you'd want to be bringing them in together, one after the other, but in this case you're bringing them in and then you need to start a coaching search. What the hell? It's tough because there's a few good players on the Raiders. Obviously, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs looked, like a proper player towards the back end of the season. I've always had a lot of time for Derek Carr. On defense, they've got Max Crosby. There's a few building blocks. There's an awful lot of work still needed. So they need to kind of move on now because they need to, be building draft boards and whatnot, assessing free agency. So I wouldn't say a total rebuild, but it will be interesting why they go with GM and coach, because I believe that will influence what happens with Derek Carr.
I always look at it and think, if you get a new GM in, they usually want to stamp their own authority on the whole situation. As you said, does that person look for a coach? If they do, they probably need to get a GM in pretty quick to sort that coaching search out. Don't want to fall behind. They do have some good players, but they don't have many saleable assets. So if they're going to rebuild, it will be slow, unless they look to get rid of Derek Carr. There will be a number of teams who would want him, because I think he's a more than serviceable quarterback. Do they get rid of him? I'm not 100% sure. And when you're in the Davis family, they always feel that they're in win now mode, even when they're rubbish. So I do wonder if they would allow such a situation like that to occur. We shall wait and see. I think it's interesting, and also the problem is for the Raiders, it's just divisional, really. AFC West, I think, is not going to get any easier anytime soon. If the Denver Broncos can find a quarterback if the Los Angeles Chargers can find a defensive line, and then the Chiefs are the Chiefs, right? It's not going to be easy. So you need to be at the elite level. So wish them all the luck in the world. Next team, Neil, in New England Patriots, had a rookie quarterback and lost in the wildcard game. It's no big deal for most teams. But when your team's the New England Patriots, there's always some kind of sense of disappointment, which is not fair. Far from it from the team. What was interesting is, they got beaten up by the little brother, which is one of those things that you don't see very often. And the little brother had decided that he was going to keep on punching him in the face until his face didn't exist anymore. But from a Patriots point of view, do you think that they're heading in the right direction?
It's tough to say because, as you probably know, and the three people who listen know this, we're not quarterback experts. We are not qualified to do so, and no one really wants to hear our opinion on it. I worry, from what I hear, read, see, is this Mac Jones? Is this what he's going to be? Have we already seen peak Mac Jones? If that's the case, then you need to do a better job of putting pieces around him. Is the worry then that the Patriots say, no, he did that last offseason? When, it's like, yeah, but you brought Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. That's not putting pieces around your rookie quarterback. Mac Jones was serviceable. We know what the Patriots want to do. They want to play bully ball. They want to literally pound people on the ground with a stable of running backs, and they want Mac Jones to be a facilitator. You could argue that Bill Belichick was at his happiest when Tom Brady was the facilitator and not the general. But that's a story for his Hall of Fame induction. If they are to improve, then I do not think this group of players is going to get much better because they're all on the back nine. I mean, Nelson Aguilar is not going to become a super efficient player. Kendrick Bourne is a nice player, probably had the most unheralded 800-yard season an NFL receiver has had for many a year. Jonnu Smith, he just set fire to that money because he was nothing. And Hunter Henry was okay. But I just worry that this is Mac Jones and this is what he's going to be. If that means he's hit his stride as a rookie, fantastic. But is he Jimmy Garoppolo? Or can he elevate?
I think the thing is, if for example he is Jimmy Garoppolo, then you got to get weapons around him, right? And I think you've already said that. I think it was interesting that while all the league zigged, they zagged, and to some extent it worked, but when it came to the crunch it didn't. Does that mean they were wrong? Possibly. It's one of those things. I think if you Bill Belichick, I think if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm concerned that my defense got absolutely boat raced twice by the Buffalo Bills. I think they haven't punted since it was windy against Buffalo. Haven't punted. That's 2 full games, no punts, complete domination. If I am a Patriots fan, I'm concerned in the same things I've always been concerned about, and that's I always wish we had more talent on offense, and I could get away with not having loads of talent on offense if I had the greatest quarterback of all time. If Mac Jones is a top 10 quarterback next year, you'd still want him to have more talent, right? Because between 1 and 10 is a big step. Now, at the moment, he's not 10, but could he be 10? I don't know. Like, as you said, that's a Mark Schofield question for us. And I'm not saying that he can't be, but I think he needs more talent. And if people believe he has the talent, then that talent needs to stay healthy, because it didn't. So they either need to get better talent or get healthier talent. And the fatal flaw of Bill Belichick has mostly been drafting talent. So whether he can do it, we is wait to be seen. Neil, let's move on to Sunday's games, and move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just going to basically do the text thread that we did earlier in the week relates to the Philadelphia Eagles, which is this a slow and steady approach, i.e. you draft 2 defensive players in your centre from Iowa, or is this a go big? Is this a Russell Wilson destination? Is this an Aaron Rodgers destination? Is this I saw what Jalen Hurts did, and he is Tyrod Taylor?
The Eagles in their end of season presser, which, let's be honest, was a week later than most people expected it to be,
Correct.
said that Jalen Hurts has done enough to be the starter for 2022. That presupposes that the season would start again next week, which it's not going to. Last year, Howie Roseman said Carson Wentz felt like a part of his hand, and we saw what happened there.
He chopped his hand off.
Basically. So Jalen Hurts did some good things in his first full season as a starter. The offense was tailored more to his strengths as the season progressed, and we saw him make some strides as a passer. I worry that he spent a lot of time being hurt, and basically, again, NFL teams playing fast and loose with the truth regarding injuries. If he walks into the end of the press conference after the last game of the season in a walking boot and says, "I've not really right for some time," then you've been lying to us then. Because all I could hear from everyone was how great you were and how wonderful you felt. So stop it. And we'll come to the Cowboys as well. Oh, PCL injury. Odd. Didn't appear on the injury report. So, I think Nick Sirianni showed us in the first 5 games of the season the type of offense he wants to run. He wants to pass the ball. I think the Eagles want to be a passing organisation. It just so happens that the way they've been built, their strength at the moment is as a running team, which it shows you how important and good at his job Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach, is, but it also shows you that as a passer, Jalen Hurts still has a way to go, and the receiving talent around him has a way to go to develop. Basically, if the Eagles did not pass to Devonta Smith or Dallas Goedert in 2021, it was a win for the opposition. Jalen Hurts' adjusted yards per attempt when targeting Jalen Reagor in 2021 was 3.92. Jesus effing Christ. Now, Eagles basically showed you what they think about Jalen Reagor by taking another first-round wide receiver. Jalen Reagor cannot be on this roster in 2022.
It's unfair. It's mean.
Stuff the cap hit. Get him out of there. JJ Arcega-Whiteside basically is a big bugger playing special teams and occasionally coming in to block. Well done, young man. You found a role. Stop putting Reagor on the field on offense. Stop sending him back there for punt returns. And for the love of God, never let him do a kickoff return either. He is truly one of the least productive Eagles players I've ever seen. And it hurts the offense every time he touches the ball. So, moving on from that, just had to get it out of my system. The Eagles are not a quarterback away.
No.
Russell Wilson is not going to rush the passer. He's not going to stop the run. He's not going to cover tight ends. The Eagles need to get better at all these other spots, and there's no better time to do that than when you have 2 first-round draft picks and the centre from Iowa.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Lindenbaum, yeah.
That's
There's
right.
a clip of him wrestling at high school and him beating the living piss out of Tristan Wirfs. Which, ironic. The Eagles need to tool up and basically go with Hurts again. If you, as a coaching staff, do not feel you can do anything more with Hurts, you're probably admitting your own shortcomings, because he showed enough as a first-year starter to suggest that there is something there. It's just unfortunate in the one game of the year that everyone was watching, he wet the bed, he missed throws, he wasn't seeing the field, and wasn't helped by the play calling. Jesus Christ, stop working the flat against the Bucs. They're too fast. Stop going east to west with your run plays. They're too fast. I know Vita Vea is a lot bigger than Jason Kelsey, but why not run it straight at them? Which is where the Eagles have been stronger. The east to west crap stopped working very quickly, but they went with it. So it's... Do I think Howie Roseman would reject calls if Deshaun Watson's agent rang him? if Russell Wilson's agent rang him. If Rodgers rang him, do I think he'd reject the calls? No. But do the Eagles have more pressing needs that they need to address with this booty of draft capital? Yeah, they do. Plus, as I've said to you, I think it's Lindenbaum, a defensive player, and then flip that to a quarterback needy team and get a first rounder in 2023 and go again. If Hurts has not improved.
It's boring, but you're right. I think the fatal flaw we need to work out is Jalen Hurts is a leader of men and a quarterback for three different teams now: the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And in each position he can't throw. This isn't a coaching issue. This is a talent issue. I don't think it gets better. That doesn't mean that they can't win games with him, because they have done, proven. That's a fact. I think I'm with you. Fix the defense, it's crap. And then we fix the next bit as well later. Also, if I watch another Philadelphia Eagles game where Devontae Smith doesn't get 10 targets, I want everyone fired. It's a ridiculous idea.
It's painful to watch. I mean, Troy, I don't want to be here today. Aikman, even he's going out and saying, I just don't understand. He's open, he's one-on-one, throwing the damn ball. No, got to keep Rager involved. It's not a kids' team. You don't have to give these players their touches. You go to your best players and tell the other people, I'm terribly sorry, but until you're better than Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, you're not getting the ball. Still. Let's
move on to everyone's favourite America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. I could talk about this for days, but I'm not going to. I'm going to ask two questions. Who is to blame and what should they do?
They're all to blame. It's a stupid play call. And Mike McCarthy has come out and doubled down on his stupidity and say he's coached to give the ball to the centre. So you've just admitted you're coaching your players wrong because the ball's supposed to go to the official. Therefore, when you're lined up and the official can't spot the ball properly, you're killing your own time. It was a stupid play call. Everyone and his dog knows you need 16 seconds to run a play, get up and spike it. Everyone knows that, Mike, except you. You can come out now and say the analytics. Yeah, blame the analytics, blame Kellen Moore, blame Dak, blame everyone except yourself, you useless bastard. Seriously, this is the what is it you'd say you do here gif. You were right. I know you were right all along. This fella's a waste of space. Terrible call, but take away from that, they did not show up in the first half, and they were not in the game until Jimmy Garoppolo threw an interception. This vaunted Dallas defense that's going to get Dan Quinn another head coaching job. Where were you? The first drive when you were dog walked by Shanahan and his play calling. I'm sorry, I thought this was an elite unit. You've not turned up for the biggest game of the season. Oh, well, that's elite then. Yeah, best luck with your interviews, Dan. What they should do is fire McCarthy. What they will do, they won't. They'll lose Quinn. They might lose more. And then it just means McCarthy has more of a fingerprint on his offense. This is the Dallas Cowboys. This is what they do. They're screwed cap-wise. They've got a lot of pending free agents. They probably can't afford to... No, they can't afford to pay them all. Because if I was Dalton Schultz, I would want... not top tier, but I would want a good contract, and they can't afford to pay it me. So I would go to the Chargers or the Bengals or somewhere else that needs an upgrade at tight end. That Zeke Elliott contract just looks better and better with each passing day, if you're not a Cowboys fan. So, what can they do? This season, as I say, yeah, defensively, you've been very good. Yeah, but that's because of turnovers. And that's not a sticky statistic, as we know. All these turnovers that you got this year, you're not going to get them next year. It doesn't work like that in the NFL. So Trayvon Diggs has had, 11 interceptions this year? It will stun no one if he has 3 next year. It'll stun no one. So the Cowboys, could they win the NFC East again next year and finally have a repeat winner? Yeah, the NFC East is a dumpster fire. We know this. We sit and watch it every week.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't need to tell us.
Yeah, but in 10 years' time, when Mike McCarthy's still there and they haven't won a Super Bowl, their fans will look back to this season and think of the games they pissed away. the Raiders on Thanksgiving and this game because they didn't show up, and it was bloody brilliant.
It's easy to pick on Mike McCarthy. I've done it for... How long have we been doing the show? 10 years?
It'll be 10 years in September.
And I think for about 8 of them I've been telling you that he's overrated. What I will say is, what I find really interesting is that when the Cowboys are good, Kellen Moore's an amazing offensive coordinator and Dan Quinn's a fantastic defensive coordinator, and when they're rubbish it's Mike McCarthy's fault. How can it be both? Who calls plays? Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy? Can't be both. Who decides on the defense?
I think Kellen calls the good plays and Mike McCarthy.
That's what I'm saying, exactly,
plays.
yeah, right. Also, I did this yesterday on the touchdown review and it offended Man U fans who were on the show. If you've got a load of talented... If people keep on telling me you've got a load of talented players and you have a coach and you don't win, and everyone blames the coach, and they say get a new coach, so you get a new coach, and everyone tells me you got a load of talented players and you get a new coach and you do exactly the same things. Anybody ever thought they haven't got a load of talented players? Like, maybe, just maybe, this team is vastly overrated.
It's the talent equivalent of, if you're in a village and you say we haven't got an idiot, it's you.
Exactly, mate. I just look and think, okay, congratulations, you won the NFC East. Bravo, like, that's cool. But you've been in this playoffs, I think, 11 different times since you last won the Super Bowl and not reached the title game. That's unbelievable.
Can we just quickly say, can we say what company they are in the NFC of teams who have not been to the title game since the Cowboys last won a Super Bowl?
Well, Washington and the Detroit Lions. Every That's
other
the list.
NFC team has been to at least one title game.
That's
think about that.
That's the list. Yeah. So, as you said, I think if vaunted offensive genius Kyle Shanahan was much more vaunted, they would have been 21-0 down after about 10 minutes in that game and it would have been over. They were lucky it was only 13. So, yeah, enjoy Dallas, enjoy. I spoke to 2 people who live in Texas and I asked if all the flags were in half masks and everyone was wearing black. I was more than happy.
Mike McCarthy has said that he doesn't watch the Super Bowl because he doesn't watch any football once he's not participating in it. God, you must have some free afternoons in January then, Mike.
He's just an absolute buffoon. Speaking of buffoons, let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers with their resident buffoon, Big Ben. Is there a concept that with Big Ben leaving, they might be a better team next year?
Even though he couldn't complete them, at least you knew Ben was going to try and will a downfield shot out of himself. You really think teams are not going to just tee off on Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins if they try and do that shit? This team's offensive line is a disaster. It probably quickened Ben Roethlisberger's retirement. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is one of those people who, the second he announces he is retiring, his weight will go up by 10 stone by the end of that sentence. He's born to be a big man. You know what I mean? He's probably fought like bloody hell to keep his weight down over the years. He is a big man. So, the fact that as you're getting older, your elasticity of your body's going and you're getting hit, and you're getting hit, and you're getting hit. Unless they vastly improve this offensive line, then this team can only win 9 games next year, and that's all they will win because that's what they do with Mike Tomlin. Seriously, you win 9 games next year with Dwayne Haskins or Mason Rudolph, put him in the Hall of Fame. Put Tomlin in the Hall of Fame now. I don't need to wait for his career to finish. I don't need the 5-year wait. Put him in because it is incredible what he can do with that roster, basically by just saying, no, we're the Steelers. We don't do 7 wins. We get 9 wins. It's what we do.
At least Mason Rudolph will not be stepping on anybody's toes when he becomes the starter next year. Quote by Mason Rudolph, "Hey Mason, you're not going to be the starter." Talk me through. I'm just going to say this on any podcast I'm on. Talk me through how Kirk Cousins isn't a Pittsburgh Steeler come July. Like, it's got to happen. It's hilarity, it's comedy, and it might actually work. You know, to a reasonable level until they realise that the Pittsburgh Steelers playing like 5 primetime games and they won't win them.
Oh God, that'd be glorious to see the bedwetting in Steelers got black and gold. Oh, Jesus.
Could you imagine him playing the Ravens in Baltimore?
But the thing is, with the Ravens in Baltimore, that's the game that he'll probably show up, and it'll be that, my God, look at that. And it'll be against the Bengals or the Browns that he goes brown. You know, it'll be that. Oh, it'll be his ultimate. What the fuck was that? Did you just do, Kirk?
They have talented players on offense. They need to be able to unlock them. At the moment, they have no way to unlock them because they had Big Ben and now they've got Mason Rudolph. And people keep on talking about Dwayne Haskins. Can we stop? Like, no. They have a good defense. I don't think they have a little bit of cap space, more than they usually have, because they've just got rid of a really, really fat quarterback. So, can they do it? Maybe. We'll find out. I wish them all the luck in the world. I don't. But, yeah, you know, because teams, sometimes it would be nice if some teams actually got bad once in a while. Final team, Neil. Arizona Cardinals. And I guess the question is are they heading in the right direction? It's 2 reasonable seasons with 2 massive fall-offs towards the end. Bit of a boat racing by your division rivals. Are we comfortable where the Cardinals are?
Well, they picked first overall 3 seasons ago, and since then they've gone, was it 5 wins, 8 wins, 12 wins they got to this year? 11? So from a pure statistics point of view, yes, they are heading in the right direction. But this is a classic, as friend of the pod would say, Denny, the process. And the process is, when you're down 7 points, the end zone is north and south, and you go east and west every friggin' play. The offense, literally, it stops. The downfield, it goes. So, I'm not prepared to come out and say they should fire Cliff Kingsbury now, because, as you say, it's for what the Chicago Cardinals, bloody hell, for what the Cardinals have been in their existence, winning 10 games a season is not something that's happened very often. Getting to the playoffs is not something they've done consistently. So Cliff Kingsbury should not be dismissed. But this team's offense, let's look at what it's going to look like next year. DeAndre Hopkins is another year older, is another year more expensive, and has shown now he's starting to get nicked up. Christian Kirk's a free agent. Zach Ertz is a free agent. AJ Green's a free agent. James Conner's a free agent. Chase Edmonds is a free agent. Other than Kyler Murray, 3 of your last 4 first-round picks have been off-the-ball linebackers. You've not invested enough talent in this team. Essentially, you're asking Kyler Murray to go out and make magic happen. There's another NFC West team that does that with their quarterback, that basically have asked him to perform miracles for the last 10 years. And look where they are now.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on the magic. You actually have to scheme things. And it's easy to scheme things if you draft and sign relevant, talented players at the relevant positions. Stop drafting off-the-ball linebackers in the first round. It doesn't matter. It's tough to say. I mean, the extremist would be, yeah, they've fallen off in a massive way, 2 seasons in a row, fire Cliff, fire Kime, get rid of everyone. And we know what Andrew Brandt would say. And now what?
Yeah, it's easy to do that and it's fine, but the question, as Andrew would say, is, and now what? So what do we do? So I'm comfortable, but you got to get better. I think we believe that Kyler Murray is an exceptional quarterback. Therefore, do things to help him. Whatever those things are, they may be different from other quarterbacks because of the talent he is and the way he plays. But then, lean into that. Do what you need to do to make him successful. As you said, don't draft off-the-ball linebackers / players who might be safety, whatever. Let's get some talent around him. Let's move it along. Cliff, you're on the watch though, because at some point, I'll be like, as you said, Callum Murray's only going to get more expensive. And if I'm paying a lot of money for him, I need a coach to be successful and not kind of possibly be in the way. We'll come on to another one who's with another franchise, who's with another rookie contract franchise quarterback who you're like, congratulations, you won a playoff game, Zach, but you need to be better for me. And Cliff, I'm looking at you. This is your last year. We need to show serious improvements in your coaching. May not even be wins, but you got to be a better coach, because if you're not a better coach, I need a better coach for me. What will then be $45 million a year quarterback?
Denny and Pat on the latest Good Football show on NBC Sports Edge did discuss an interesting point regarding the Cardinals and Kyler Murray in particular. Is Kyler Murray fast, or is it just that his feet move quicker than any other human on the planet?
He's Marvin the Martian, right? So he runs like Marvin the Martian. Wasn't fast. He just had, his feet just moved like Fred Flintstone. That's how it goes. Neil, let's move on and let's look at the divisional round and let's give some picks out. To quickly recap last week, Neil, 12 picks. We picked a spread bet and an over-under. I went 7-12. Neil, you went 9-12. And at one stage, you'd got the first 8 picks right.
So I didn't go 9-12.
You went 9 out of 12.
Oh, right.
7 out of 12 for me. At one stage, you'd got your first 8 picks right, which is pretty spectacular.
That's what I would have cashed out.
We both got Steelers and Chiefs completely wrong, because we were so nervous that the Steelers would do what the Steelers used to do, but they didn't. So I think we secretly won that, but anyway. Let's move on. Let's talk Bengals Titans. And it's just one question, Neil. Will the rest have been a good thing for Tennessee?
Well, no team needed it more than them. They are, the least inspiring number one seed in the AFC since the 2008 Titans, I think, or maybe the Steelers last year. The big rest obviously helps them get Derrick Henry back. Now, do we assume Derrick Henry, who, as I say this, still hasn't been cleared to play on Saturday? Yeah, all right. Do we assume he just comes in and takes his old role back, 25 carries? I don't think they need to, because they can afford to mix in a bit of Donta Foreman. The big question, of course, is if this game is a ground and pound and street fight, that's where the Titans want to be. If this turns into a bit more of an air show, I don't think they've got the horses. AJ Brown is a beast. He is, up against the two other wide receivers on the other side. I'd still want AJ Brown out of the three of them. I think, just something about him. But he can't do it all by himself in the playoffs. Whereas I think, if it's going to be a lightning show like Star Wars, I think the Bengals have got more weapons. Interesting as well. Just going in, the Bengals are 6-14 all time in the postseason. The Tennessee Titans franchise, so obviously that includes another, is 17-22. Derrick Henry is second all time with 150 playoff games with 150 or more rushing yards.
How many playoff games? What?
He has 3 games with 150 rushing yards in the playoffs. He's second most of all time.
He's not human. If Derrick Henry is back and Derrick Henry is at 80%, then the rest is good. I think, is AJ Brown 90%, then the rest is good. I do fear a little bit for the Bengals in a kind of, that was the Lord Mayor show, and I have a bit of nervousness about that in both AFC games, that one of the teams has played at Super Bowl already. Although, I do love the idea that Joe Burrow won a regular season game that did win his team in the division and was dancing and smoking cigars, and then won his team's first playoff game in 31 years and looked like he just won a game at Tiddlywinks. That's good. I think that's a good thing. I think he is a trendsetter, a franchise setter, changing person. I think you're probably right. I think the Tennessee Titans, when you say underwhelming, they're probably the least talked about number one seed for as long as I can remember, especially probably as long as we've done this. Because although we could argue that the Steelers weren't any good last year, people still talked about them because of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just don't think people talk about Tennessee. Mike Vrabel's a very, very good coach, though. Probably coach of the year for me. And I'm not sure about Zach Taylor at all. So, the Titans are favoured by 3.5. Neil, what say you?
I'm going to take the Bengals. And I think they win by a touchdown.
Okay, now we're talking some kind of you may not believe in that kind of thing, but if you believed in that kind of thing, there's a team of destiny with a gentleman named Chris Westling coming up on the blind side. I am unfortunately going to say the journey stops here. I'm going to pick the Tennessee Titans. I think they probably win by a touchdown. I do fear that the Bengals have played their game now. I would like to see the Bengals continue, but I do think that sometimes we underestimate the first time in the playoff situation. And although they did win a game, this is a very young offensive team especially, and I do think that is something that will go against them. Over-under is 47, Neil.
I'm going to take the over. Because as I say, I think the Bengals win if points are scored. So I think points are going to get scored. So I'll take the over.
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to see a similar kind of score to the game Saturday night last week. Kind of 23-17, kind of 24-17 kind of game. So I'm going to take the under. So totally against each other here. I've gone Titans and under. Neil's gone Bengals and over. Next game, Neil. If you loved your John Madden game last week of Cowboys 49ers, how about 49ers at Packers for you? Is it Steve Young versus Brett Favre? We'll only find out when the game starts. The Packers have struggled greatly against the 49ers in recent playoff appearances. Guess the question is this the year the Packers beat the 49ers?
The 49ers have won the last 3 postseason meetings between these two teams. Overall, the record is 4-4 all time. This is the only matchup between two teams who have a franchise winning record in the postseason. The 49ers are 33-21, and the Packers are 36-24. Aaron Rodgers, who we know, famously said, that he would make the 49ers pay for ignoring him, has 45 touchdown passes in the postseason. That is tied for the second most all time with Joe Montana, who played for the 49ers, of course. Obviously, he's a long way behind Tom Brady, so we don't need to discuss that. Another Joe Montana disciple. It's kryptonite. We've seen the 49ers over the years have had the Packers number, and it's with a variety of quarterbacks. It's been Kaepernick, it's been Jimmy Garoppolo. The last 2 times when it's been Garoppolo, he has boasted a better passer rating in those games than Aaron Rodgers managed. In terms of offense, this is going to sound weird, but hear me out. The 49ers have more talented skill position players than the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you've got Aaron Jones, you've got Devontae Adams is obviously a freak. But on the other side, you've got Elijah Mitchell, you've got Brandon Ayuk, you've got George Kittle, and you've got the cheat code, this Deebo Samuel. If Jimmy Garoppolo can do the Hippocratic oath of the quarterback, do no harm, the 49ers can win this game, even in Lambeau. And I think they do, because Aaron Rodgers and the Packers just find ways to come up small in the playoffs when they really need to be big.
This is an interesting thought process. This is obviously a battle of 2 of the members of the 2015 Washington, at the time, Redskins coaching staff. Two that got away. Don't worry though. The other guy who was also on the thing will be talked about in the next thing. Deep sigh. And Kyle concerns me a lot of times.
He's a coward.
Well, I was going to try and be nice, but I can't. For someone who you would think wouldn't be a coward, he is. He's very new school, old school in the kind of way he coaches, and he's very old school in that kind of situation. I don't think Matt LaFleur is as much, actually, if at all. And I think that the Packers have a decided coaching advantage in this game. They also have infinitely the better quarterback. I agree with you. There's probably it's tough to argue that they don't have better skill positions the 49ers, but with Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, there is some serious talent on the Packers team. The issue for the Packers is simple. Their major flaw is being able to stop the run, similarly to the Cowboys last week. And if the 49ers are able to take advantage of that, then they have a real chance to win. What I will say is they cannot settle for 3 points. They have to score sevens. They have to, if they get a chance to go 14-0, they don't make it 10. They get a chance to make it 21. It's not 13. It didn't cost them against the Cowboys, but it would cost them against the Packers. Neil, it's -6. Am I right in thinking you're taking the 49ers?
I am.
And you're going to take them to win the game? Not that you have to in this concept, but you do believe they got a chance to win the game?
I do, because, as I say, I just think that the fatal flaw of the Packers is, and this is going back, this is now several defensive corners that they've had, they can be had on the ground, and you don't need to invite Kyle Shanahan to run on you. It's just baffling. This is what he needs to do. He needs to realise that if you're running the ball and you're averaging 7 yards a run, 4th and 1 is a guarantee that you go for it. You shouldn't even entertain it. You're getting 7 yards a play. Just run it. As you say, you're not going to win kicking threes, but you will win by extending drives and keeping Aaron Rodgers fuming on the sideline. So if you come and you bring your training pants, you're going to lose. You'll be competitive. You'll probably outgain the Packers in terms of yards, and you'll lose the time of possession. But they'll go for sixes, and you'll go for threes.
Understand the logic completely. I'm going to take the better coach and the better quarterback here at home, so I'm going to take the Packers -6. Over under is 47.5. Neil.
I'm going to take the under because, again, Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to get into a shootout because he doesn't believe in putting up points. I don't mean not running up the score. I believe he just wants to get enough points. I just think that they'll get enough points to win without having to resort to the laser show.
I'm going to go actually over on this. Just see it being kind of a 31-24 style game. So quite comfortable over. First game on Sunday, Neil. Rams at Buccaneers. The Los Angeles Rams gave away draft picks for Matthew Stafford for this game, in theory, and the next game, if they get to it. Can Matthew Stafford prove his worth?
You just worry, when do the injuries finally hit tipping point for the Buccaneers? Because they're already down to... Mike Evans was pretty damn good against the Eagles. It helps when they move into the slot and he's going up against 5'9" Avonte Maddox. Rob Gronkowski didn't have to do an awful lot. I mean, they leaned on Gio Bernard and Keyshawn Vaughn, for Christ's sake. But the injuries on the offensive line, I don't want to be down to my second string centre against Aaron Donald.
No.
This is a game, say, the Rams in their career, their franchise history, are 23-27 in the postseason. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 11-9. So you factor in that they won 4 playoff games last year, wasn't it 4? And they've won 1 already this year. Tells you how good their postseason's been in their career. The Rams are 2-0 in the postseason against the Buccaneers in their history, and in both seasons went to the Super Bowl. They were 1-1 in those games. again, you look at the skill position players, and you'd say, well, they've got Cooper Kupp, they've got Odell Beckham, they've got Tyler Higbee, they've got Cam Akers. Jesus Christ, medical science is incredible for these incredibly well played. Sonny Michel is not a terrible player, but this is not his game because he's not, elusive enough. He's going to be banging his head against a brick wall if they try and run him, against this front. We saw it last week. The Bucs, as I say, have got Evans and Gronk and Cameron Brate, and they should have Leonard Fournette back. Those parts are. I would give the edge slightly to the Los Angeles Rams. It's Tom Brady against Matthew Stafford, and I'm taking Brady. I'm terribly sorry. I appreciate that Stafford was efficient last week. Hardly blitzed them, and you tore them apart when they blitzed them. The Bucs are going to blitz. It's what they do. But I just think it comes down to this. It's Tom Brady in his own house. And obviously, it's a different house than where he's been, for the majority of the time.
It's a sunnier house. It's
a sunnier house.
Where you
it's
go
a summer
to retire,
house.
Right? It's a summer house, yeah.
And again, it doesn't help that on occasion, McVay's a bit of a coward as well.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say something very similar. I think that's a valid point, is that in a better quarterback, more aggressive coach, there's a no-brainer here. Like, Bruce Allen's phrase is what, Neil?
Bruce Arians' phrase. No biscuit, no biscuit.
Correct. Sean McVay don't play that shit. Like, he's putting it from the 43, do you know what I mean? And I don't really know why, but he does. Congratulations to Matthew Stafford winning a playoff game. You did what you kind of set out to do, I guess. Is this a step too far? Probably. Do they have some advantages, the Rams? I think they do, yeah, as he said. I'm not 100%. I need Jensen to be fit. Really need him to play. I don't want Aaron Donald against that. Don't need that in my life. There's this new up and coming lad who's played for the Rams. He played really well on Monday, Neil. I don't know if you're aware of him. I've been looking at his name and just shortened it down to 3 letters. OBJ. Seems like keep an eye out. Might become famous. You never know. Having him as your second wide receiver is really good, especially given all the injuries that the Bucs have had on defense. But, let's be frank, you're going to pick against Tom Brady at home? I don't think so. How many playoff games did you say the Green Bay Packers, one of the most revolutionary franchises, one of the most winningest franchises in NFL history, have won?
They've won 36 postseason games.
How many did you say the San Francisco 49ers, who have won, I think, 5 Super Bowls? How many playoffs has they won?
33.
Okay, Tom Brady's won 35. Tom Brady on his own. Now, obviously not on his own, but what I mean is, he's won more playoff games than the San Francisco fucking 49ers. Unbelievable. Can't even get my head around it. So, Bucs are -3 and I'm taking Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride for the Rams. As you say, they have been built to win now. Every move they've made has been to win now. I still think they can win now next year. I don't think this is closing the door on them. It's Tom Brady, man, and you can take his receivers. He's Tom Brady. He'll find other ones. Although Tyler Johnson, if you short arm one of his passes again, they'll never find the body.
Over under is 48.5, Neil.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, me too.
I think the Rams have to try and turn this into a shootout, and run the risk of Donald. Not run the risk, but gamble that Donald can get to Brady and force a fumble and maybe steal a possession here and there. Do something on defense, but it's because once Wirfs went out against the Eagles, Ryan Kerrigan was partying like it was 2012.
Absolutely.
So they have shown that take Wirfs. I mean, it sounds stupid. Yeah, take one of the best right tackles out the team, and they look a bit vulnerable. Yeah, but if you take Wirfs out and you take Ryan Jensen out, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over too. One of the reasons is because I think there will be points, and the other one is if the Bucks get into a big lead. I do think that the Stafford is world renowned for backdoor cover / garbage time touchdowns. Final game, Neil, and I think it's the best game of the weekend. It's Bills at Chiefs. I think the Bills made it abundantly clear that they built the roster this season to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in a playoff game, which they assumed at that point would get them to the Super Bowl. That won't happen here. But they've built a roster to beat the Chiefs. People queried whether that was the right thing to do. It looks right now as the right thing to do, because if you build a roster to beat to beat the best team in the AFC, obviously not Tennessee, but what I mean is that kind of idea, then there's a good chance you're going to beat everybody else. And so far the Bills have. But can this concept and can this team get over the line against Kansas City?
The Bills have a bit, in my opinion. Now, last week, as you say, there's a risk that might be their Super Bowl. Yeah. I would agree with you to an extent if it hadn't been for the fact that they got to the title game last year against these same Chiefs and didn't live up to the billing. So I think that they'll be looking at what they did last week was a starter for the main course that is the Chiefs. That they're more battle tested. Josh Allen was playing out of his freaking mind last week. Some of the things he was doing, there's the QB school video on their game against the Patriots with JT O'Sullivan. It's recommended viewing because some of the things he's doing were balmy against a Bill Belichick defense. So it's just like, again, we're name dropping again, but it's what Mark Schofield calls this friggin' guy throw.
Yeah.
After this friggin' guy throw. So, yeah, the Bills are one of those teams that, coming into the last week of the season, we didn't know whether they're going to be at home, they get a home game, whether they're going to have to go on the road. Then they go out and do that to the Patriots. Do they have a bit of air of team of destiny you were talking about? Have they caught fire the way the Eagles did in 2017, for example? Maybe. Do they have playmakers on defense that can, force a turnover, limit the Chiefs? Do they have weapons on offense? Yes, now that they've realised Manny Sanders and Cole Beasley. You take a backseat to the young quit lads, please.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is very technical, and this, this has been drawn from many years of watching the NFL, for why I say this. The Chiefs have got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not betting against them at home in the playoffs.
As I said, I do fear of the letdown for the Buffalo Bills, and I know we can talk about that the whole season has been defined by what happened the last game of last season, and that's okay. But beating your biggest rivals in such a way is tough to get out your system very fast. They need to. Josh Allen's performance was unbelievable. Has he been as good consistently this year as last year? No. If he plays like he has this year throughout the whole season, is he one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? Yes. Does that make everybody who does draft analysis wrong, with the possible exception of Mel Kiper Jr.? Yes, because no one thought he was going to be good. He's been wonderful. And I think he's really enjoyable to watch. And he may be let's just say he's the second best quarterback in the NFL right now. There's a fatal flaw in that logic.
He's playing the first one.
He's playing the first. If he's the third, then he's playing the second and Rodgers is the first. Do you know what I mean? It's the issue they're going to have is that right now Patrick Mahomes is probably better. The Chiefs need Kelsey and Hill to be back. You think they showed signs of that? I think it's interesting that they didn't get the bye, but got to play a pre-season friendly to warm themselves up for this game. The Pats quote unquote could be seen to have an easier game, but it absolutely was not a preseason friendly against New England Patriots. I think this is an amazing game, and I'm gutted at the time it's on from UK point of view. I understand why, but this will be a time to be in America.
What you have to remember as well is that not getting the first overall seed, so they missed out on having the bye week. But if results go the way I've said they were, they're going to be hosting the AFC title game anyway.
Against a team that's beaten them already, which will be quite interesting. But yeah, it's going to be a good game. I look forward to watching it. And I am also a shitbag, and I'm also going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. -1.5, Neil. Chiefs. And the over-under is 54.5.
Ooh, let's go bold and say over.
Yeah, let's have fun to end Sunday, and I am also going to go over. Neil, if I have done my maths correctly, that means you have AFC title game, Bengals at Chiefs. I have Chiefs at Titans. For the NFC, you have 49ers at Bucks, and I have Bucks at Packers. Whatever happens, they will be good games, and we will be reviewing them next week.
I will say, sorry.
No, go on, Neil.
I was just going to say that according to the FanDuel Sportsbook, the Super Bowl matchup that is the least likely to happen is the Bengals against the 49ers, which is ironic because it's happened in the Super Bowl twice already.
It has, yeah. And did you say that the Bengals have won 6 playoff games?
Yes.
And they've been to 2 Super Bowls. Just think about that, people. Anyway, Neil, before we're back next week to review the games, to look at the losers and preview the championship games, where can people catch you?
Follow me on Twitter at ndutton13. This week I've had my Super Bowl odds tracker for Number Fire, and also we have begun our rookie comparison series at Rotoviz. I have started it off, as I like to do every year, by looking at the rookie campaigns of Trevor Lawrence and Devontae Smith. The Trevor Lawrence comparable players who enjoyed, inverted commas, similar rookie seasons to Trevor Lawrence in the last decade, makes for terrifying reading, especially if you're a Jaguars fan.
Let's just hope that's an Urban Meyer thing, Neil. But yeah, we've spoken about it, and yeah, not good. I'm at Mindy7. Neil is at End13 combined. We are at Waxing_Lyrical. As I mentioned, touchdown review came up yesterday. I spoke NFC with Taib and Thomas, and spoke AFC and Dallas morning with Callum and Joe Valenzuela. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Give it a listen. Enjoy what can only be described as the best weekend in the NFL on a yearly basis. Some great games, some great matchups. Me and Neil, different sides, but all hoping for some good games. And we will review them next week. And until then, these top guys are out.